talk a little about this lovely Berkshire uh, owned by Minton Cronkhite. This dates back to about 1933, 34. It was probably made by Crovan, Minton's company in Greenwich, Connecticut. Minton had an electrical company, Liberty Electric in Stanford. Sold that in 1928. Good timing. And went into trains in a big way, a quarter-inch. So over his one of his buildings behind his house, he built a large layout and opened a company called Crovan. When he left Liberty Electric, he took Otto Owack with him, who was a locksmith and very fine machinist, and he was the one that did a lot of the building for him. So this engine runs like a Swiss watch. Minton moved to California in 1930, taking some of his trains with him, but he kept Otto busy building new trains for him for Minton's layout out in California. So originally, this engine, when it was made like in 33, would have been O gauge with outside third rail. Currently, we're running two rail here, but when this started life, it started O gauge with outside third rail. Minton went all in for real scale, so about 1935, he started converting all of his trains and layout to Q gauge. So here we have 1.25 and a quarter-inch scale, which is incorrect. So either you can go to 17/64, which makes your engines larger, or you narrow the gauge, and he called it Q gauge. So you go to 1 3/16. Yes, that's kind of anal, but nonetheless, it is proper. So he had to redo all his engines from the outside third rail O gauge, 1 1/4, to then went to two rail Q gauge, which was 1 3/16. He was commissioned by the Santa Fe Railroad, so he heavily modeled the Santa Fe. Santa Fe was his client for public layouts in Dallas in 35, in San Diego in 37, in San Francisco in 1939, and ultimately the Museum of Science and Industry layout in Chicago, 1941. So these cars here may have been some of the last cars made by Otto back in Connecticut, and beautifully done. And you'll see he probably had 3 sets of these cars, and they ran, you see them running on the San Francisco Treasure Island layout, and then you also see them running on the Museum of Science and Industry layout. These cars are from the Museum of Science and Industry layout, but they easily could have run on the other large layouts prior. Minton's engines always have this little knob here for the reverse, and you can inch your engines forward and then turn them off. You have a little arrow there. So let's go. The cars are absolutely stunning. This is like a Monel metal. They're very thin. Unfortunately, these are a little bit rough condition because they were on the Museum of Science and Industry layout for many decades. These poor cars probably have 100,000 miles or so on them, real miles. But when you have the Santa Fe as your client and they want things down to realism, check out this diaphragm. All sprung, beautifully done. Now, you'll also see this active diaphragm like this on their heavyweight cars, which are equally hard to find. But another time we'll do a video on those. But these are absolutely beautiful cars. So they started on the layout in 1941 in Chicago, and they would have been Q gauge because the layout was Q gauge. And then when Bob Smith came in and redid the layout in 52, the trucks would have been thrown away and they would have gone to O gauge. And these remained on the layout for a long time, running concurrently with the other cars. I do have other videos showing the Exacta cars, which came into existence in the late 40s. So commonly I get asked, where do you find this stuff? Well, this whole train was acquired on eBay. No, not altogether. But we'll start with this tender here. This tender hit eBay all by itself, being sold out in Southern California. I knew what it was by identifying the reverse level there. So playing the long game, I bought that roughly 5-6 years ago. This engine just showed up on eBay roughly a month and a half ago, and you'll notice it is the exact number. So again, it's sold all by itself, Southern California, so they were separated at some point. And then these cars were listed by a hobby shop on the southwest side of Chicago. A number of the museum cars, no trucks, no couplers, in kind of as-is, where-is condition. And I immediately identified them as the layout one, so acquired those. So we'll go to a little bit of the history of Minton Cronkhite here. Here we have Minton in 1966, looking over his uncle's engine. He started back in about 1924, 25, when O-scale was just getting started. Here's an early engine by Egoff that he had in his collection. So Minton built some trains, and then he bought an awful lot of trains. So here's some of his engines here. Here's a Crovan made by Otto. This is a Fred Icken. Here you'll see the Berkshire that we have that we're running. It's been renumbered, or he may have had a couple of them. He had a very large layout in San Marino where he ran a number of the engines. And then here we have this mountain up here. That happens to be this engine right here, another probably built by a Crovan by Otto for Minton. This one still has original paint, original hand lettering, and still with the outside third rail. So there's another video of showing this just running on the straights. This one does not like my curves. I'm sure this was made for probably 10-foot circles. I only have 8-foot circles. So this is an article from June 1966 model Railroader, and it has a good share of Minton's collection. 1941, the opening of the Museum of Science and Energy layout down in Chicago here. This was the pinnacle of his public layouts that he created here. Basically a large folded 8, 40 feet by 50 feet. Perfect for the average basement. Your control panels here. He recreated the Grand Canyon here in the center. Originally started in 1941 in Q gauge. Here we have Minton at the opening of the layout in 1941. Another view of the layout here. When the layout opened, they did have one diesel, and they were pulling the streamlined passenger cars that we're running here on this evening. So, without further ado, go to the next page. Here's some more pictures of the layout here, the control panel, and then there's a folded figure 8. So, without further ado, there are other Minton engines out there in the Model Railroad Museum in San Diego. They have at least one more steamer and another diesel and another set of cars like we're running here tonight. Again, beautifully done. This one dates back to 1933. We'll run the train up. Again, beautiful detail. I'm sure initially when these were running, the gap in here would have been closed. They would have been riding on a much wider radius, and you wouldn't have had the gap here between the diaphragms. So we'll just throw the switch here, and off she chugs. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Thank you.